Hello.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome to another episode of Conscious Roots TV, y'all. I'm Portia.
And I'm Nady, and together we founded Conscious Roots in 2017.
Ooh, yes. We are so excited for today's episode. Today is another installment in our series on inclusive language. And this time we're talking about class and classist language that we need to replace.
Ooh, it's going to be a big one, y'all. But before we go any further, make sure that you look right below this video, hit the subscribe button. You don't want to miss an episode. We bring you new, amazing episodes every single Thursday.
Yes. So in some of our previous episodes, we've been talking about different aspects of inclusive language, which is thankfully a bit of a hot topic right now in society at large.
It truly is. And we believe that none of you out there ever want to be oppressive or hurtful or classist or racist with anything that's coming out of your mouth or anything that you're typing. But sometimes we may just not know what words are inappropriate or that are offensive.
Exactly. So if you happen to miss them, first off, don't forget to check out episodes 6, 7, and 8, where we discussed ability, race, and gender-based inclusive language.
So y'all, this episode is going to be just a little bit different than our other episodes, and I want to tell you why. So classism itself has two different parts, just like any kind of ism, right? But classism in particular, while there are terms that are classist that will help you unpack, a lot of how we've internalized it in our society is through actions and behaviors. So this episode is not just going to be about the words, but it's a both and. So we're going to help you with the words, which are over here, as well as the behaviors and the actions, so that you can be not classist.
I love a both and. Yes.
Yeah. So Portia, what's up first?
All right. So I'm coming out swinging, y'all. This is a threefer.
Wow.
The word ghetto, white or trailer trash, and the word country when you use it as an epithet or a negative. So I hear these words, these three words, used interchangeably often to mean something that isn't up to par or as high quality as you think it could or should be.
Yikes, y'all. And we're sure that you've heard these words yourself. First off, ghetto is a dog whistle term. And if you're not sure what a dog whistle term is, it's a term that people can throw around and they can say things that are racist and classist without blatantly sounding racist or classist. Yep. So when you're using a dog whistle term like ghetto, you're actually saying most likely that someone or a neighborhood is poor and black without actually saying that. So still very racist and classist, but in a more roundabout, beating around the bush kind of way, if you will.
Yes. And when you call something ghetto or trailer trash or country in a bad way, what you're really saying is that thing is beneath you.
So if you're just trying to say that something looks like it's hastily thrown together or maybe shabby or maybe not as organized as it should be, just use your words. Just say the thing that you mean to say.
Exactly. And this next one, okay, this one is a common assumption that people make. I've heard it before, and it kind of like undergirds the way that people talk or deal with a certain situation. So the assumption is that being poor or being in a low income situation is a result of someone's choices or their laziness or something that is inherently lacking in those people that are poor or low income.
That's such a hurtful and damaging assumption that unfortunately so many of us have internalized, including those of us who have grown up in neighborhoods that were low income, also have that internalized classism to work through. Oh gosh, I could really go down a rabbit hole here with all kinds of things, but something that comes to mind is just thinking about the stories of my mom and the stories of my dad. My mom didn't make the choice to grow up in a displaced persons camp in Germany. She didn't make the choice to have her own father shot and her mother have all of her belongings taken from her. That's not their choice. It's not because she's lazy that she grew up there. And same with my dad growing up on the north side of Minneapolis. Also didn't make that choice. but lived in a family that gave as much as they could. Like anytime somebody was in need, they were welcomed in to sit at the dinner table, even though they didn't have that much food for themselves. Not a choice of laziness, not a reflection on the quality of character that either of my parents are, or that me or my siblings are.
Exactly. It has nothing to do with character. And so we really have to pick apart those assumptions. Another assumption that goes with that is that often goes unchallenged in my experience is when we assume that everyone can afford something. So I'll give you an example. I see this a lot with like community exercise classes, right? They'll be called community exercise classes and they'll say, we're open for pay what you can, but then it will set a bottom line like donation contribution, like the smallest possible contribution is $5. The assumption is that everyone can afford that $5.
Goodness, you might be thinking, well, $5, what's the big deal? But for some people, $5 could be prioritized to be spent in a much different way than a community exercise class, even though they would also deeply benefit from a community exercise class. And so our push here is if you have power over determining what that might look like for a community exercise class or anything similar, set the bottom line as $0. And if it's truly pay what you can, there should be a zero minimum and then go up from there. So anybody can access what you have to offer. And believe me, if somebody is taking that class for free down the road when they do have $5 or $10 or $20, they're going to think about this community exercise class, about this particular organization and how much that meant to them in the moment.
Absolutely. All right. So this last one is huge for me. I know we've had some big ones already, but just to get a little bit personal for a minute, this is not only something that's been used against me. I grew up in a low-income background as well, but it was a part of my internalized classism for a very, very long time, which means that I used it as a weapon against other people as well. And this one is policing someone's manner of speaking. So, for example, saying that there is a proper or a correct way to speak, that is inherently classist, y'all, and it's often also racist.
My goodness, we have both seen this in our multi-decade long career in education. I'm thinking two different examples here. A lot of educators subscribe to our channel and watch our YouTube TV. And so one thing I'm thinking about is how we treat our students. Sometimes our students look very different than us, and we may try to correct what they're saying if they're speaking in AAVE, which is African American Vernacular English. But newsflash, the act of correcting them is racist. It's classist. How they're speaking is a dialect. It is not wrong at all. And so really think critically about how you might jump to correct a student to speak more properly, and I'm using that definitely in heavy air quotes, because honestly, that is so racist and classist in a way that I've experienced this personally. A job that I started maybe a decade or more ago, my first manager was not very pleased with how I was presenting workshops and told me that I did not speak correctly, and actually wound up taking over the workshops that I was giving to these new educators because I was not using the jargon that this organization was using and that I was speaking too plainly or too simply. And that really hurt me and stuck with me for a long time, and it's just another example of classism at work. My goodness, it's everywhere, y'all.
Yeah, and look, as fate would have it, someone gives workshops for a living. So what did that boss know?
Look at me now. Look at me now. Traveling the world, giving workshops, speaking plainly.
Oh, goodness. So for those educators who might be watching this, you might be wondering, okay, like, but how do I teach grammar, for example, if that's on my caseload? You can still do that. You can teach that there are different ways of speaking in different contexts, but you should never, ever tell someone that the way that they speak is wrong, because it isn't and it can't be.
My goodness, folks, we have given you a lot of food for thought. We know that you're chewing on a lot of different nuggets that we just gave you. And so don't fear. We know that you're hungry for more, that you want to continue unpacking, you want to continue unlearning. We know that you want more education here. So below in the notes, we have a whole bunch of resources, including books that you might want to check out. We also have a cameo from my dog, Mary Pearl, who loves to join in our YouTube video. So Mary Pearl is also going to be reading those books to help unpack the ways that she's internalized classism in our society.
Mary Pearl is a hero to us all. Thank you, Mary Pearl. And as always, y'all, I hope that you will like this video and share it with those you love, especially if it gave you something to think about.
Yes, please share it on everywhere. Plaster it everywhere. Also, please follow us on social media because we know that you just can't get enough. One episode of YouTube a week of our wonderfulness is just not enough for you. So find us at Conscious Roots LLC on Instagram and Facebook. You can also find us on the internet, consciousrootsllc.com. On that website, you can find a link to our Patreon. Support us there. You can also sign up for our newsletter, which drops every Tuesday and also is also filled with all kinds of juicy nuggets for you to chew on.
I love the way you say that. It makes me blush a little bit. Oh, goodness. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thanks for being you.
Bye, y'all.